Okay, so what I'm going to be doing to you is reflecting on like the last 20 months that have like happened to me, because it's been 20 long months since I got on stage and started talking about Madonna, and it's kind of funny when I look back on it saying, I don't know when I'm going to ever get back up on stage or when I'm going to go to a gig. As a matter of fact, I went to my first gig last month, and that was after 18 months of not going to gigs. So I got kicked out of my house at the start of the pandemic in March 2020. Reason being, I was living with this woman, I was doing on a pay-to-pay monthly basis. And when the pandemic kicked in, she thought, oh, you're not going to be earning good money, you're going to be on furlough, you're going to be getting the dole money. And I said no, so she kicked me out. So basically, out of my home in East London, I kept on contact with this woman. She kept on messaging me, but then I blocked her in July last year. And then all of a sudden, she messaged me in April on WhatsApp. And so I say to one of my Bergen friends in Australia, oh, this is the landlady who walked in on me when I was naked in bed. Oh, this is the landlady who hogged the bathroom for half an hour and I had to take a dump in a garbage bin. And then so a lot of my friends are like, well, Mom, what does she want? Does she want your dick? And then my friend's like, why is your old landlady contacting you? Is it really true you took a dump in a garbage bin and she walked in on you naked? I was like, yes, Andrew, it's true, she did that. So I've had to put a block on my iPhone for this landlady to stop contacting me, and if she does anything bad, I might have to put a restraining order against her. I mean, just leave me alone, you know? And the second thing was, at the start of the pandemic, I moved to Birmingham for 30 days. I lived with this Jamaican lady in Birmingham, and she didn't want me doing business with Pakistani run shops. She'd be like, Martin, don't you be spending your money across the road at the Pakistani run shops. I don't really want to be buying stuff from there. I'm like, lady, I don't have a problem with Pakistani owners. I got a lot of friends who are Pakistani, so that's not really nice. In the end, I had to leave after 30 days, and I basically put a block on her on my iPhone and told me to stop calling me. I spent my 35th birthday in Serbia last year. I really wanted to travel to Iraq, but the Turks cancelled my flights even though Iraq was actually open. So I had to spend my 35th birthday in Belgrade, Serbia, hanging out at the tomb of Grandmarshal Tito. So Belgrade is a really great city to visit. There was hardly any restrictions, there was hardly any lockdowns and all. It was amazing the time I spent in Serbia. When the Turks had cancelled my flight to Iraq, I planned on going from Belgrade all the way to Iraq over land, but then these dumb idiots who were running bus companies in Serbia lied to me saying Bulgaria was closed. So it wasn't. So I ended up in Macedonia, and I'm staying with this hotel, and these guys come to me and they say, well, where are you from? I'm like, I'm from London. They said, Pakistan? I'm like, do I look like someone from Pakistan? Do I speak Urdu? Do I, am I Muslim? Like, no. And these people, they kept playing this stupid music at 1 a.m. in these, capsule hostels. I banged on the door, told them, shut up, it's 1 o'clock, go to bed. Because I've been spending most of 2020 living in hostels. So then, a funny story happened when I was living in hostels. I was hanging out with this woman, which I didn't know her as Mrs. C, and she had a daughter, aged in her 20s, called Miss S. So one day, I go out for a walk, I close my iPhone, I forgot to lock it, and then I was having breakfast with her. And then all of a sudden, this photograph of this woman that I met, online, it was actually uploaded on Instagram. And so I ran to my bedroom, I started banging, delete, this is inappropriate, this is a bad photograph. And then all of a sudden, Instagram and Facebook had just given me a warning. And then 2 weeks later, I was put in the penalty box on Facebook for 2 days for standing up to somebody in America who was being, racist to an Asian family, and I just being a viral video and all. So I know what it's like to be in the Facebook penalty box. Let's see. Then, after my time in Serbia, I came back to the UK and I had to spend 14 days in Bangor, Wales. And the funny thing was, in this time in Bangor, Wales, nobody checked up on me. I stayed in this student accommodation, and nobody called me, messaged me and all, and to say how I was, if I had COVID and all. And then I went to Liverpool on the 12th of the 12th, and I met a nice South African. I call her like the Dame because Dame, it means lady in Afrikaans. And she told me all about Johnny Clegg, who was a British man who immigrated to South Africa as a baby. And he became fluent in Zulu, and he fused rock music with Zulu music and became known as the White Zulu or the Zulu Blank. So after meeting this South African lady, I basically stopped drinking alcohol and I stopped eating meat. And they were like two of the best things that I've ever given up this year. But I kind of wish giving up adult material online wasn't that hard, you know. Because one time I'm watching Living Colour, one of my favourite Afro-American rock bands of all time, and Corey Glow was like, "How you all doing up there? What's going on?" And I want to say hello to all the folks on the internet, how you going? And stop looking at that porn. And I'm like, Corey, sorry Corey, I was thinking about that red hat I saw the other day. Jeez, man. So I got COVID at the start of 2021. Still living in hostels, got tested positive for COVID, didn't even feel bad about it. And I got kicked out of the hostel and I had to stay in this really bad run hotel in Holborn. It was so horrible. So as I'm checking in online, the guy, the hotel manager is telling me to relax. I'm like, I got anxiety, mind your business. And the one horrible thing was he made a comment about the woman on my iPhone, the South African woman. And he's like, "Oh, your girlfriend is very beautiful." And so it got me into a Woody Allen mode, which my mom says I look like Woody Allen with this. And I'm like, "Excuse me, I didn't ask for your opinion about the woman on my iPhone, so why don't you just mind your own business, man?" So I had to spend 10 days in a really bad hotel in Holborn. And after 10 days, I got back to the hostel and I even brought back bed bugs. One day, I see this bed bug crawling on my foot, and I put my foot up, and I'm like, "Oh my God, it's a bed bug." So this was a sign that I had to get out of hostel life. I'd been living there for 8 months. And then so all of a sudden, I moved into a house. I had a really hard time not leaving London in the first 6 months of the year, but getting out of London on the last few days of June 2021 was a relief. I went to Maxfield to visit Ian Curtis's grave. And so I've been able to get out and about of London much recently. I went up to Bacup, to where the legendary Johnny Clegg was born, made a vlog. I went up to Hepton Bridge to FaceTime my brother and show him the grave of Sylvia Plath. I went down to Southampton to show my mother the grave of Benny Hill, and then to the Isle of Wight to visit the grave of Razzle, who was killed in 1984 in a car crash with Vince Neil driving under the influence of alcohol and drugs. So, in life, we have to push on no matter what's been happening in this world. I want to thank you all for coming, and I want you all to stay strong, stay well, stay healthy. Get vaccinated if you can, and take care of yourselves. I'm Martin the Metalhead. I'm over and out. Take care.